2.4, this is probably one of the section that you guys will dislike a lot. The reason is now we are deal with problem solving, or in terms that we deal with a word problem. So there are two types of word problem. In 2.4, there are two types of word problem that we will take a look, which is one, the first item is this type of word problem where you need to translate. Remember yesterday, we give you this item here and we ask you to translate from English statement to algebraic expression. So this is what they ask you is write the following as an equation, then solve. So they give you A, B, C, which is we have this three item. So how would we go about to solve this word problem? If you look at this A, B, and C, they are very identical. Pretty much it's the same, just different number here and there. But hopefully you guys recognize, if you guys remember from yesterday, hopefully you recognize that we have a double operation. And if you remember, I told you that what happened if we have a double operation. Well, if we have double operation here, which is we need to have that, when you read this thing here, you need to have that small pass. And because we have to pass, that's why we have to have a parenthesis, right? So this is what they tell you is 3 times the sum of a number and 7 is equal to 4 times the difference of a number and 10. So if you look at this thing here, if you remember, time is multiplication, the sum is addition, times is multiplication, the difference is subtraction. So if you were to translate this, literally this is what we have, is 3 times the sum, right? The sum of what, guys? 3 times the sum. Well, the sum of what? The sum of a number and 7, which is, everybody see that the number and 7 is inside my parenthesis. So if you were to translate this, which is 3 times the sum, which is 3 multiplied to addition. The addition of what? The addition of a number, which is x, and 7, which is, again, that's what we have, which is 3 times x plus 7 is equal to, which is, again, is equal to, meaning equal sign, 4 times the difference. Which is, again, do you agree that 4 times the difference? This is literally what they tell you, 4 times the minus. The difference of what? The difference of a number and 10. So everybody see that that is what you need to do, or this is the first thing that you need to do, is you need to translate it this way, right? 3 times the sum of a number and 7, which is, again, 3 times open parenthesis x plus 7, is equal to 4 times the difference, which is 4 times open parenthesis x minus 10 because of double operation. Okay, so again, question of how, and that's your goal for 2.4, is how can you translate this word into this expression? Because from here, we know that from here, all we need to do is to get rid of the parenthesis. We need to take 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 7 is 21. And again, 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times negative 10 will give you negative 40. So looking at this thing here, everybody see that this is what we have in terms of after you translate them, we need to solve for x. And to solve for x, we have a parenthesis, we need to distribute them in. And once you distribute them in, hopefully you guys see that, oh, my x is on both sides. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where I tell my student is, it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. It's not wrong if you move the x from the left to the right. And it's not wrong if you move the x from the right to the left, okay? So the first thing I want to show you, my rule of thumb. For me, my rule of thumb is this, is if I recognize that I have x on both sides, which is in this case, my x is on both sides. My rule of thumb is I move the smaller number to the larger number. The reason why I want to do that is because I don't want to deal with a negative number. If you move a smaller number to a larger number, if you move a small x unit to the larger x unit, you don't have to deal with a negative. So everybody see, I move this 3 to the right. And if I move it to the right, I have to minus 3, which is 4x minus 3x. That will give me 1x, or just simply an x. Everybody see that 4 take away 3 will give me just simply an x. And once I have that, if I move it, the x to the right, I need to move my constant to the left. And to move my constant to the left, I need to add the 40. And if I add the 40, everybody see that x is equal to 61, or 61 is equal to x. Okay. And again, if I confuse any of you, hopefully I won't, but if you guys, the reason why I don't move my 4 to the 3 is this. If you were to move the negative 4 to the 3, right? If you move the 4 to the 3, and again, I show you both way, and up to you, you can use whatever way you want, which is, again, this is our consistent, right? We move the 4 to the 3, and if I move it over, I have a negative, which is 3 minus 4. 3 minus 4, I will have a negative 1, right? The other one, I don't have a negative 1 here, I have a 1. But if I move it to the left, you have to know that you have to move the 21 to the right. And if you move the 21 to the right, you have a negative 40 and a negative 21, which is negative 40 and negative 21 will give you negative 60. And because there's a negative 1 here, we need to divide by a negative 1. And if you divide by a negative 1, everybody see that negative 61 divided by negative 1 is equal to 61. So it doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter how you do it. One thing about this equation is there is only one answer. If there's an answer, there's only one answer. It doesn't matter which way you do it, the answer is correct. The only reason why, and that's why I told you guys that for me, my rule of thumb is I move a smaller unit of x to the larger unit of x because I don't want to deal with a negative number. But regardless of how you do, right? Regardless of how you do it, the answer will always be the same in terms of, again, it's either x equal to 61 or 61 equal to x, which is the number we're looking for is 61, okay? So again, first of all, question on how I got this answer, or if you spot my typo. Just kidding. Question with this thing here, which is 61 equal to x. And let's do B together, and then I let you guys try C. So if you do B, which is again, same thing go twice, right? Twice meaning 2, twice the difference meaning 2 times the difference of what? The difference of x and phi, which is 2 times open parenthesis x minus phi is equal to triple, which is 3 times the sum. Triple the sum meaning 3 times the sum, which is 3 times the addition. The addition of what? The addition of x and 9. So everybody see that twice meaning 2 times, triple meaning 3 times. And again, once we have this, which is very identical, once we have this, you can see that 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 9 to give you 27. So after you distributive, you can see that it's very identical. And for me, like I mentioned, for me, I like to move the 2 to the 3. I move the smaller x to the larger x, which is again the 2 to the 3, which is 3 minus 2 to give me just an x. Again, negative 10 is the same, 27 is the same. The only thing I have is, again, 3 take away 2 to give me simply just an x. And if my x is that, now I need to move the 27 to the right, to the left. And again, if I move the 27 over, I have negative 10 and negative 27, which is negative 10 and negative 27. The answer will give me negative 37. Negative 10, negative 27 equal to negative 37, which is, that is my x, okay? So question with this 2 problem. Question with this 2 problem. See if you can do, I give you 3 minutes, see if you can do problem C, and then we will look at another set of word problem, which is the second set of problem. So hopefully, hopefully you guys see that they are very similar, right? We have 5 times the sum, right? 5 times the sum, which is again 5 times the sum, 5 multiplication to the sum, right? The sum of what? The sum of a number and 11, which is looking at this thing here, this is what we have, which is again 5 times x plus 11. And again, it's equal to, which is equal to 2 times the difference, which is 2 times the difference, which is 2 multiplied to the subtraction. Subtraction of what? The subtraction of x minus 10. So again, hopefully you guys see that this is what we have in the sense of, no, this thing here is very redundant or very repetition, right? So question in how I translate those words into this algebraic expression. Because once, that's the hardest part. Because after you translate them, we just do what we did in 2.2 and 2.3, which is solve. And to solve this thing here, we need to distribute the phi in, which is 5 times x, phi x, 5 times 11 is 55, and 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 10 is 20. And again, as you can see, your x is on the same. And again, in this case, for me, I move the 2 to the 5 because the 2 is smaller. So I move the 2 to the 5, which is again 5 minus 2 to give me 3. And if I move it to the left, I need to move the constant to the right, which is if I move the constant to the right, my 55 on the left is positive. So when I move to the right, it's become negative, which give me 75, right? Negative 20 and negative 55 to give me a negative 75. And again, I need to divide this by 3. And if I divide this by 3, everybody agree that x is equal to negative 25. So question with this 3 problem here. Question with this group of problem in the sense of how to take the word, translate to algebraic, and how from algebraic convert to or solve for your x. Solve for your variable. If you don't have question with that, let's take a next group of question we have. And again, like I mentioned, 2.4, this is what we have is basically these are the 2 most difficult question that you will encounter. Any other question probably a little bit easier. So looking at this thing here, similarly, if you look at this thing here, these 3 problems are very, very identical in terms of the setting, in terms of the wording. They just changing a different item, right? So they tell you in A, they say a 20-foot wire is to be cut into 2 pieces so that the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times the length of the shorter piece. Find the length of each pieces, right? So looking at this thing here, one thing about this item is, again, they give you the word. So the easiest way to do this is try to see if you can draw the diagram, right? This is what we have is a 20-foot wire is to cut into 2 pieces. So the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times the short piece. So let's take a look at this thing here, which is, for instance, let's say that this is my wire, right? This is a piece of rope or the wire that I need to be cut. So do you agree that this wire is 25 feet long? And if this is 25 feet long, which is, again, the question tells us that we have this item and we need to cut into 2 pieces. Which is, again, they say that we need to cut into 2 pieces so that the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times the shorter piece. So do we know what the shorter piece is? Do you agree that we don't know what the short piece is? Whatever the short piece is, I don't know. So that's my x. But whatever the short piece is, the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times the shorter piece. So again, everybody see that this is what we have. Is they tell us the question, they tell us, if you look at the question tell us this is 25 is to be cut into 2 pieces so that the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times the shorter piece. We don't know what the shorter piece is, so that's my unknown, that's my X. Whatever the shorter piece, the longer piece is 1 foot longer than 5 times that. So again, looking at this thing here, that's what my setting is, which is, again, this is a 25 feet long. I need to cut into 2. The short piece, whatever the short piece is, the longer piece is 1 foot longer, which is increased longer than 5 times the shorter piece. So looking at this thing here, question in terms of this diagram, or how to see how you can analyze that word problem to give you this item here. So once you have this thing here, do you agree that looking at this thing here, whatever the short piece is, I need to add that to the longer piece. And if I take the short piece and add to the longer piece, do you agree that that is equal to my total? Again, if this whole thing is equal to 25, and I need to cut into 2, which is, again, if I take the first item plus the second item, that should be equal to the total item we have, right? So one thing, or this is what you need to set up, ladies and gentlemen, which is, again, that is what you need to set up is whatever the first piece is my X, added to the second piece is equal to the whole total piece, which is the total piece is 25. So once we have this, which is, as you can see, what do we do? Well, they are on the same side. We have 1x added to 5x to give us 6x. And hopefully, you know, the hardest part is how can you make this word into the algebraic expression? Because once you got this thing here, now, if you can solve that massive problem prior, then this small problem should not be difficult. Because once you have this thing here, we know that we need to get rid of the 1. And to get rid of the 1, we need to subtract, which is we have 6x equal to 24. And again, 6x equal to 24, we need to divide the 6, which is, again, if we divide the 6, we divide on both sides, which is x is equal to 4. So we know that the short piece is 4 feet long. And again, 4 foot long, which is, again, you can take 25 minus the 4 to give you the 21. Or you can say 1 plus 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 1 will give you 21, which is, again, your x is the first piece. If you look at this thing here, your x is the first piece, which is 4. The shorter piece is 4. And the longer piece, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 1 is 21. And as you can see, 21 plus 4 to give you 25. Okay. So again, the idea of this thing here is, the goal of this thing here is, hopefully you guys can see that we need to translate this wording to this algebraic expression, because you can solve the math. The math is easy to solve. Your goal and the hardest thing is, how can you guys take the English and convert it to the math? And if you can do that, ladies and gentlemen, if you can do that, the math portion is easy. You know, and the thing is, you know, you ask when are we use the math, and this is the time we use the math, is how can we apply the thing we learn in our real life situation. And you probably say, well, if I cut it, I can measure it. But again, this is the situation that you have to figure out, right? And that's what we have here. Same idea go with B. If you look at B, and again, I will help you set it up. I will let you guys do C by yourself. If you look at this thing here, which is, again, the 45-inch wooden bench is to be cut into 2 pieces, so that the longer piece is 10 inches more than 4 times the length of the shorter piece. So do we know the length of the shorter piece? Which is, we don't. That's why it's our X, right? So looking at this thing here, if you look at this diagram, if you look at this diagram, we have this bench, right? This bench, we need to cut it into 2 pieces, right? So we know that this is a 45-inch bench, and we need to cut into 2 pieces, but we don't know what the short piece, right? Whatever the short piece is, that's your X, but the longer piece is 10-inch longer than 4 times the short piece, which is 10-inch longer than 4 times the short piece. And as you can see, if you look at this thing here, is very identical to the other that you have. The shorter piece at the longer piece is equal to the total all, right? So looking at this thing here, everybody see that this is what we have. We have in the sense of X plus 10 plus 4X equal to the total, which is 45. Okay, so again, see, the challenge that I have, or not that I have, the challenge that you guys have is how can you dissect, how can you encrypt the word, right? If you can encrypt the wording to become this item, because clearly all of you know how to solve this, right? All of you know how to solve this, because you know that we need to, again, we need to take 1x plus 4x, that will give you 5x, right? 1 plus 4, that will give you 5. And we know from here, we need to get rid of the 10, which is to get rid of the 10, I need to minus. And to minus 10, 45 minus 10, I have 35. And then you need to divide of the 5, which is if you divide it by the 5, you will have 7, right? So the shorter piece will be 7, right? This shorter piece will be 7. 45 minus 7 to give you 38, or if not, you can see that 4 times 7 is 28. 28 plus 10 is 38. So again, how can you take the problem and change it to this diagram? Okay, if you can do that, ladies and gentlemen, life should be good. Okay, so question with this thing here.